Shalom Havreim, James Trim here. The last few videos I've been talking a lot about the DuTillet Hebrew manuscript of Matthew, and if you, I'll put a link to the video where I explain the origin and significance of the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew. However, I was not able to, in that initial video, put all the information about the significance of the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew. And so I said then I would be making future videos where I would be addressing the topic in greater detail and giving more information. And I'm going to be doing some more of that today as we talk about the Yeshua's yoke in Matthew chapter 11 verses 28 through 30, and as it is in the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew. And we'll find a very, very exciting connection to the ancient sect of the Nazarenes, who were the original Jewish followers of Yeshua. All right, before I get started, at the timing of the making of this video, our rent is past due and we don't have it. Now, this video will probably not get uploaded for a couple of days. So, but at least at the time that I make this video, the rent is past due and we don't have it. And we're also facing more bills that will be following right up on the rent at the beginning of the month. So please donate to support this work and to just, help us out. For those that don't know, my wife is chronically ill. She's disabled and she suffers from chronic pain, and I am here as her caretaker. So we could definitely use your help. You can donate by clicking on the donate link in the video description, and you can also donate by sending donations by PayPal to donations@wnae.org. All right, in addition to that, I'd like to ask everybody to please like this video. We have a really great like to view ratio, and I'd like to keep that up. It's actually an amazing like to view ratio. In addition, please subscribe to this video. We'd like to get our subscriber numbers up. That helps us out with YouTube. Please click the notification bell so you'll find out when we upload new videos, which we try to do every 2 or 3 days. And also please let us know what you think in the comments and participate in the discussions in the comments. All these things are things that the YouTube algorithm looks at to decide what videos to recommend to new viewers, which we would want to have happen. In addition, please share these videos on social media, Facebook, Twitter, in relevant Facebook groups, and help expose us that way to new viewers as well. Okay, to get started here, we also, like frequently we have handouts where you can follow along with some of the extra biblical material, for example, etc., that we have in this that we reference, and the link to the PDF file for those handouts is in the video description. So you can print that out, or you can do what I do. You view it on a second screen off to the side, and if you have a second screen, that's a great way to do it. And you can follow along. All right, let's get started. Before we look at Matthew, let's look at Isaiah chapter 8 verses 23 through chapter 9 verse 3, or chapter 9 verses 1 through 4 in Christian versions. It says, "For is there no gloom to her that was steadfast? Now the former has lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, but the latter has dealt a more grievous blow by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan, or beyond the Jordan, in the district of the nations. For the people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them has the light shined. By the way, if you look at the context, it's talking about the light of Torah. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased their joy. They joy before you according to the joy in harvest, as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, you have broken as in the day of Midian. Now, Jerome, in his commentary on Isaiah, about 5 times, Jerome was, by the way, 4th century church father who was responsible for the Latin Vulgate. And he wrote a lot about the Nazarenes, who were the original Jewish followers of Yeshua, whom he actually considered to be heretics because of this. And he writes, "The Nazarenes, whose opinion I have set forth above, try to explain this passage in the following way." And then he quotes this ancient Nazarene commentary on Isaiah. "When Messiah came and his proclaiming shone out, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, first of all, were freed from the errors of the scribes and the Pharisees. He shook off," and Jerome wrote in Latin, and the Latin word that he uses there is, and forgive my Latin, excusat. He shook off their shoulders the very heavy yoke of the Jewish traditions. Later, however, the proclaiming became more dominant. That means the proclaiming was multiplied through the emissary Paul, who was the least of all the emissaries. The good news of Messiah shone to the most distant tribes and the way of the whole sea. Finally, the whole world, which earlier walked or sat in darkness was imprisoned in the bonds of idolatry and death, has seen the clear light of the good news. I want to talk here about this word, shook off. You'll notice that the verb in Isaiah chapter 9 verse 3 or chapter 9 verse 4 is broken. It says the yoke of his burden and the staff of his oppressor and the rod of his oppressor, the staff of his shoulder and the rod of his oppressor, you have broken. And that's the common Hebrew idiom. Generally, we talk about a yoke being broken. But interestingly, the Nazarene commentary has shook off. The verb is shook off, or as Jerome expresses it in Latin, excusat. This points to a different Hebrew verb than appears in Isaiah chapter 9. The verb here would be na'ar, to shake off. And when I was really studying this in depth several months ago, suddenly a light went off, because I had also previously studied the DuTillet Hebrew text of Matthew in depth. And so I realized, wait a minute, I have seen a text in which there is a yoke that is shaken off, or at least the verb is na'ar. And so the text here is in our next handout, Take My Yoke, and it is Matthew chapter 11 verses 28 through 30. And I have it here in Hebrew, so you can see it in the actual Hebrew. And I've got the word na'ar highlighted in red, or in red letters, so you can see it there. Okay, the English, reading in English, it's "Come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will satisfy you. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me." And then the verb is na'ar, "For I shake the burden off and am downcast of spirit, and you will find rest for your souls," referencing Jeremiah 6:16 and Psalm 23:3. "For my yoke is gentle and my burden easy." Now, in the past, I translated Na'ar in my translations of this passage as driven out, based on its usage in Zechariah chapter 11, verse 16. But in light of this new information that I see above, that you can see above on the previous page, as its usage in the ancient Nazarene commentary on Isaiah, where we have this verb, or at least the Latin equivalent of this verb, as Jerome is quoting it, attached to a yoke. And so clearly the yoke is here, it's for I shake off. In other words, the yoke, all you that labor are heavy laden, and even then, when it's take my yoke upon you, there's a contrast between his yoke and this heavy yoke. For my yoke is gentle and my burden easy. So as I shake off this heavy yoke. But it gets better. If you look at the traditional text of Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30, you'll see that the verb here is, instead of I shake off, it's a verb that means to be pleasant. Well, actually, it's a verb that means to be meek, for I am meek. And I think here that Na'ar, the Greek translator, misread Na'ar, to shake off, as Na'am, to be pleasant. And you can see here in the handout in the Hebrew how similar those words are in appearance. So I think there's a scribal error here, either a scribal error or a misreading. It may have been that the Greek translator had a Hebrew text that had Na'am because of a scribal error instead of Na'ar, or it may have been that the Greek translator misread Na'ar as Na'am, but at any rate, the Greek text has I am meek, where the Hebrew says I shake off, in reference to this heavy laden burden, this heavy laden yoke that is referenced here. So there's no doubt in my mind that the Nazarene commentator on Isaiah, the ancient Nazarene commentator on Isaiah, chapter 9, verses 1 through 4, brought to mind Matthew chapter 3, verses 14 through 16, and Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30, and seeing the verb na'ar, or knowing the verb na'ar from the Hebrew text of Matthew 11:29, commented that Yeshua shook off their shoulders, the burden of the heavy decrees of the scribes and Pharisees. This can't be coincidence. This cannot be coincidence. The ancient Nazarene commentator on Isaiah clearly had a Hebrew Matthew before him that agreed with this unique reading found only in the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew. In the DuTillet, it may be found in Münster, but it's definitely not found in the Shem Tov text, and it's not found in any other text. So we can make a definite connection here between the DuTillet Hebrew Matthew and the original Hebrew Matthew, which was in the hands of this ancient Nazarene commentator on Isaiah, that was in the hand of the ancient Nazarene Jews. It's very clear here by looking at the ancient Nazarene commentator on Isaiah and the Hebrew text of the DuTillet Hebrew version of Matthew, or the DuTillet Hebrew manuscript of Matthew, that the DuTillet Hebrew manuscript of Matthew is a descendant of the original Hebrew Matthew that was in the hands of Nazarenes of the 4th century. Again, I need to ask people to please donate to support this work and these videos. You can do that by clicking on the donations link in the video description. You can also do it by sending donations by PayPal to donations@wnae.org. We need your help today. At the time of the making of this video, our rent is past due. It was due on the 1st, and we didn't have it. And we're facing more first of the month bills rolling up right behind the rent. And since we didn't even have the rent, we're in a bit of trouble here. So please donate if you possibly can. Also, of course, like these videos, subscribe to this channel, click that notification bell. Let us know what you think in the comments. Participate in the discussions in the comments. Share these videos on social media, on your Facebook, on Twitter, in Facebook groups where it's relevant and it'll get out to a lot of people. We need to get exposed to new viewers. When we do get exposed to new viewers, people love the channel. I mean, our video like to view ratio is very, very, very high. But we just need to get out in front of more people. So please help us get out in front of more people and donate, donate, donate. You make these videos possible. All right. Shalom, everybody. Until next time.